All right, so here's absolute value notes that you should have a copy of. You can either type them in the document or write them on your paper. It would be easier to write them on a sheet of paper because I do not have it user-friendly for typing it in for the bottom part of this paper. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to, for the first step of absolute value problems, first off, you need to know that the absolute values of these bars right here. Right, this is just letting you know what they look like. It's kind of in parentheses, just telling you it's an afterthought. So if you see something like this, that's what absolute value is. And if you'll notice, I put the two bars a little bit taller there. So the first step is to make sure the value or the absolute value bars is on the side all by itself. Okay, and if it's not all by itself, then you will treat it like it's a variable and then isolate it. And if you watch the video, I actually show you how to replace it with the variable, isolate it, and then do steps 2, 3, and 4. All right, so after you've isolated the absolute value, you can't do the next step until you've isolated the absolute value. You're going to determine it if, so you have to now make sure the answer, and I would highlight these if I was you, is positive. And what that means is you cannot have a negative answer and actually get an answer for an absolute value because absolute values are always positive because it's a distance. You can't walk a negative mile, right? That'd be weird. Like, hey, mom, we'll go run -5 miles today. So the answer has to be positive. So what that means is if I have the absolute of x in here, and I say, okay, I need you to tell me what number when I make it positive is going to equal a -3. Hey, you're going to say no solution. Okay, there's no way that's going to happen. So there's no solution. You could put an NS, or you can do that little circle the line through. That means it's an empty set. I also have this way, which you don't have to. This is set notation. It just means there's nothing in that set. So it's an empty set. They both mean the same thing. All right, so you've isolated the absolute value, so there's nothing on the left side or the right side that has the bars. Whatever the bars are at, there's nothing around it. There's nothing on the outside. Then you look to make sure that once you have isolated, there's nothing on the outside, that this number is positive. If you have both of them, now you're also ready to start solving. And the way that you remove the bars is to rewrite the absolute value, what's in the absolute value, rewrite it twice, okay? Once with a positive answer and once with a negative answer. So the next step is to rewrite it. And again, that's the step where the bars come off, okay? Now you remove the bars at that point. So when you write the equations twice, that's literally the absolute value. That's how you do the inverse of it. Okay? Absolute value are not parentheses. You're not going to distribute. They are grouping together. They are a grouping symbol, but they're not the same as a parenthesis. We will not distribute. All right, and then the last step is to actually, once you write your two equations, is going to be to solve both of those equations separately. And do not assume just because you're solving the same thing that you're going to get the same answer twice. You will not. Not every time, anyways. So that's your steps. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to fill those in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and walk you through number 1. If you have the absolute value equal to 7, you have the bars by themselves. You have a positive answer. That's step 1 and 2. So now it says to rewrite it once with a positive or once with a negative. Okay, so that's number 1. It's done. Okay, you wrote it twice, and you wrote once a positive, once a negative. Now you're supposed to solve those equations, but they're already solved for x, so you're done. There's nothing to do there. All right, let's look at number 2. Absolute values are not on the side by itself, right? That little +2 is bothering it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that first. That's the step 1. Now I have the bars all by themselves on the left side. So I'm going to make sure the 5 is positive. It is. Then I'm going to write what's in the bars, not once, but twice, right? And then I will make this answer positive and this answer negative. Put the word or between them. So this will go here, and then the opposite of it, making it negative, goes here. You bring down what's in the bar twice. All right, so looking at number 3, I have Nothing on the side with the bars. So I'm ready to rewrite the positive step. Okay, so step 1, nothing on the side with the bars. Step 2, this is positive, check. So now I'm ready to rewrite. You rewrite what's in the absolute value bars twice. Okay, you'll now set it equal to a positive, which is the number you should see, and then the negative of that number. Okay, if this is negative, remember there's no solution. So you'll never just bring this down as a negative. Okay, this one should always be positive. Right, now you're ready to solve the equations separately. So this is step 4. So I'm going to solve this equation by adding 2 to both sides. Do not assume you know the answer, please. And then the same thing, I'll solve this equation. Make sure you're using a calculator if you don't like negatives. There you go. So you now have the answer of x equals 9 or x equals negative 5. Notice this one had a positive and negative. This one is just 9 and negative 5. So a lot of people assume if these two are the same, these two are the same, but these two will be. So don't assume that. It does not happen every time. All right. Number 4 and 5. All right, so number 4, bars. Okay, this is on the outside of them. I have to get rid of it first. So I now have the absolute value of x equal to a negative 3. All right, bars by themselves, so got that checked. This answer positive? No, the answer is not positive, so this one is no solution. Okay, a lot of times you're going to skip that second step. Don't do it because it'll make it a lot harder. Then you're doing a lot of work you don't need to. All right, this one confused a lot of people today, so do pay attention. We're not distributing. This is saying 2 times the absolute value of x, but I want the x to be positive. You cannot get rid of that, okay? You cannot just say, oh, this is just 2x or whatever. You can't just pretend like it's not there. It's saying 2 times this quantity. You can't distribute it. The absolute value bars have to stay until you write it twice. Remember, that's the only way to remove the bars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the 2. If it says 2 times the absolute value, then the inverse is to divide both sides by 2. And you're left with the absolute value of x equal to 7 over 2. There's no number there. Oh, no, you should leave it 7 over 2. You can give me 3.5 if you want. I don't care. All right, now the bars are by themselves. I have a positive answer. It's a fraction, but that's okay. Positive. You can write it twice. X equals, bring down the 7 over 2 positive, bring down the 7 over 2 negative. And the or, and you're done. All right, the next page does have some problems for you to work. I do have a video on those. Double check you can do them. All right, let me know if